Welcome to the Power of Lifting podcast. I'm EricCafferty, owner of the Mecca Gym. I am a strength and conditioning coach and a contest prep specialist. The focus of this podcast is to dive into the mindset and the drive of people who have done incredible things with their lives. Welcome to the Power of Lifting podcast.
Whoop, whoop.
So today we have a super special guest. I'm super excited. I've been looking forward to this all day, actually. Well, since I asked you, really, because I know this one's going to be epic. I'm super glad. So first, endurance-oriented athlete that we've had on.
Yes.
So this is Carolyn Olsen. She, I've known you for how many years now? Long time, probably.
Yeah, a long time since our families collided.
Yes. So, sort of. Yeah. Anyway, my uncle's wife's sister's daughter. There we go. Okay,
so get out the pen, write it all down.
That's the connection. Yeah. So it's a little bit distant, but regardless, I knew you before you were into doing triathlons. So you are top in the world right now for amateur women in your age category, right?
Yes, I am.
Oh my goodness.
Which is insane. That is a huge deal. So before we get into all the other stuff, how do you actually go pro in triathlons? I don't know much about the world of triathlons. Obviously I've studied, well, maybe not obviously, but I have studied a ton about training for them, nutrition for triathlons, endurance-based stuff. So have a lot of knowledge on that side of the house, but on the actual how all of the inner workings of that world work, I don't have as much information.
Yeah, pros, it's a point system. So if you do really well in your races, you can earn points and go pro, and you have to apply to make sure that you're legit. And then you go through an application process with Ironman, and then they can accept you or not.
So how many races do you typically have to do?
I'm not 100% sure about how many actual races I've seen people just start racing, do really well, and then apply. So I couldn't 100% tell you on that one. But it is a point system. So if you feel like you could go pro, you do need to do the application and then go from there.
Okay, very good.
What's the application then? Is it literally just some paperwork?
Yeah.
Be I've done this, let me in kind of thing? Or?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I haven't actually filled out the application myself before. I've thought about going pro, but there's that, I love the sport so much. Yeah. And I think that as a competitor, you always want to go up against the best, but I still feel 100%. Like I have work to do before I took that step. So I've competed against a lot of phenomenal women that have gotten their pro card, and I'm like, if they went pro, why didn't I go pro? Yeah. But I also help my family run a business and do all this other stuff on the side that I'm really passionate about. So right now, I'm loving what I'm doing. I'm doing really well at it. So, there's that success element. As a competitor, I'm I like to win. Yes. So if I was going to go do the application and go pro, then I want to be able to really compete at that high level. So right now, I would say I'd come in around mid-pack.
Okay, nice. Pros, which is phenomenal. These are the top triathletes in the world that you're competing against, obviously.
Yeah.
And the other cool part about triathlons is locations too. So although it is kind of a pain to travel and compete, you're not in the comfort of your hometown. But how is that?
Well, I call it a racecation. I think
that's phenomenal.
Many people who are in my same boat call it a racecation. My husband and I like to go to Hawaii a lot. I mean, who doesn't like to go to Hawaii?
Crazy people.
Twist my arm. You know what I
mean? Mexico, France, Austria, Australia. We've traveled all over the world. And yes, it does take some additional preparation to do that, but there's so many resources out there to be able to travel and pick the right places, do Airbnbs.
Take your bike, take all your stuff.
Oh, wow, yeah.
That's a hassle. So I, have thought about flying with like my mountain bike to go. I'm far less serious about, the biking scene than you are. But like traveling to mountain bike is something that I like to do. I've thought about like flying with my bike. How is that?
100%. So when I first was racing, I had what's called a rooster bag. And, obviously when you're racing, you have to be a little bit money conscious because it can be expensive to do these.
Steep, yeah.
Yes. So we used to get these compatible TSA bags that were like within the length parameter so that you didn't have to pay for your luggage. So I had like my frame in one bag and my wheels in another.
Oh,
now I'm sure you can imagine how I'm 5'2", like $110 maybe, and so I'm dragging all this shit behind me. Can I say swear words on this?
Yes, it's a
so
freelance it.
My poor husband. At least Big Mike is huge, so I'm like, I can't do this. I'm the prima donna athlete, so he's like taking all my stuff all over the airport. So we had those bags, and then we recently just went to, I think it's called pronounced Scion. It is the best investment I've ever made. You literally take off the wheels. They go in the side pouches, and then you just attach your frame inside this little mount in the bag. You zip it up. It pushes through the airport super easily.
Dude, yes.
So if you want to go mountain biking, Europe, Utah, wherever you want to go, click it in, take it out. It's amazing.
That is awesome.
All the little things that make it all so much easier.
Oh, yeah. Right. That's awesome. So you just check it like a bag at that point.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And honestly, with all the tiny components that go in with a bike, like I've actually DNF'd at a race before because my bike, there was like one thing was mis-screwed in. Oh. And it just like completely derailed my bike. And I couldn't do anything about it. Stuck on the side of the road, waiting for a bike tech to come and take me back to the start.
Oh, jeez.
So it's that peace of mind also when traveling that you know that your bike is exactly how you put it in. You don't have to reattach all your stuff and take it out. So I would 100% recommend that.
That's awesome.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
when you travel, obviously a triathlon is 3 different events, so it's not just the bike. That's probably the hardest thing to deal with. But when you deal with the running aspect and the swimming aspect, is there also a lot of equipment that goes with that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I've gotten, after 11 years of racing, I have a mental checklist, but I still write down every single thing that I need to pack. I start with the swim, the bike, the run. So when I swim, do I need a wetsuit? Yes or no? Do I need a swim skin, my goggles, my cap, whatever race kit I'm going to wear underneath it, my socks, my goggles, my race helmet, my shoes, my nutrition. I mean, and it's that one thing that you leave behind. Did you lose your goggles? Did you leave your bike shoes? Those are things that are really hard to pick up.
You can't just go to a local Walmart.
Yeah, you can't just pick up those things. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So, I guess let's get into a little bit about, we asked crowning achievements. So you played or did D1 tennis.
Yeah, Boise State. Woo, woo.
Yeah, represent. Mm-hmm. How was that? Did you have a good experience playing tennis in college, or?
I did. I think that playing Division I sports anywhere is amazing, but specifically at Boise State, they had such a phenomenal program. Cool. They have such support for their athletes, and we were academically driven and athletically driven, which is so important.
Yeah.
The girls were incredible. People I still look up to this day, watch and follow what they're doing. Some of them aren't stateside. They're in Europe, New Zealand, Australia, and I miss them every day. I mean, I have goosebumps just thinking about the times we've had in the sisterhood and the bond that you have. Unfortunately, I was only there for a year, but I went through some hardships, but I completely think that they've made me in the athlete that I am today. I mean, we all go through our ebbs and flows of things, and it's... Yeah. I would say I definitely went down into a goalie for quite some time, but I came out eventually.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about the mindset that took. So, obviously, high school you did tennis. What else did you do in high school?
Predominantly tennis.
Okay.
Yep.
And then, so you go to college, you play D1 tennis. It's you have that experience. It was great. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about after that. What happened after that?
Okay, so I have this great story. So obviously I didn't stay at Boise State, but a lot of my friends still were there. One of my closest friends, Jen, we used to run together and cross train. She's a phenomenal athlete. And one day she called and she goes, hey, want to go on a run? I was baking some sort of cake at home. And I was like, no, I'm going to stay home and bake a cake. Whatever. So she's out there getting her stuff done, and I'm at home baking a cake for myself. Anyway, so I get a call. This is so trippy. 6606. June 6th, 2006. She was listening to that song. Y'all remember, You Had a Bad Day,
Yes.
whatever it is.
Sure.
She was listening to that song. She gets hit by a high school student rushing to drop their sister off at school.
Oh, no.
Oh, man.
Breaks her femur. The doctors told her she'd never run again.
Oh, man.
So she's devastated. We're devastated. And she was just like, hell no, I'm not going to live this life. She came back, continued to play college tennis, and then her and her father did the inaugural Boise Half Ironman the following year.
That's awesome.
And she crushed it.
That's awesome.
So that's actually how I got into Ironman originally, is because just spectating her, I was totally blown away by the people doing it.
That's awesome. So that's kind of what got you in. So that was 2007.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, what process did you follow? Did you start training? Did you watch more races? What happened?
You know, I had already loved running. I did a lot of distance running.
Okay.
It just was a peace of mind thing for me, especially after losing that consistency of college sport.
Right.
So I think many athletes struggle with that. You have
sure.
such routine and rigor. You have to be here at this time, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
So I started doing a lot more running, self-taught for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
I actually taught myself how to swim in the Clock Tower Pond off state, which is, I'm sure everybody's like, oh my God, gross. But I started...
You do what you got to do.
For real, though. But I have a very hard time swimming there now. I'm like, why is my body itching so bad? But
Terrible.
It's the only open water we have, so we're limited. Options are limited, guys.
Yeah, right.
But I actually taught myself how to swim in that pond. I started with breaststroke across the pond and back, and then I tried to do freestyle as far as I could, and then breaststroke, and it just evolved from there. My first half Ironman, I think it took me 46 minutes to finish. Like, it was... I was like, this day could be over right now, and I would be the happiest person alive. But yeah, that's kind of how it started. Was a lot of self-taught, and I think that's a big misconception with Ironman, is that people think with triathlon, I got to get the bike, I got to get all this equipment. Like, yes, it can get super expensive, but I did it on my dad's road bike, like my first duathlon. I didn't have any crazy fancy shoes. I had a pair of like Nike Shocks or whatever. And you just went out there and had fun.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Anybody can get into it.
Yeah. You
really can. And if you get serious about it, then you can start making those investments.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome.
That is awesome. We've had former like D1 athletes on here as well that have gone into other sports, like Eric's wife Casey. She did that. But was it a big mental shift for you, like shifting from the mindset of a tennis player into a competitive triathlete, or was it similar in the aspect of it's just competition, I'm going to go do it?
You know, I think that's a really good question. I've actually been trying to understand that correlation. And I think that in team sports, you have this purpose above yourself.
Right.
And I think that's almost something that you've created at your gym a little bit, because it's like this like following. Everybody's like, we're Mecca Gym athletes. You know, there's this thing where when the push comes to shove, there's that element above yourself.
For sure.
So you don't want to have that self-pity, that self-doubt. You're like, I'm not letting myself down, I'm not letting them down.
Right. Yeah.
So that was kind of a shift for me in college tennis, even though singles is a very... You're alone. It's just you.
You're single.
Yeah. Solo. It is different. It's just relying on you.
Yeah.
So if you let yourself down, you're not letting anybody else down but you. So it can be a really disheartening thing. to go through that is, I can have races where I won. I left with the hardware. I left with the number one spot on the podium, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, I know I had more to give.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
So it's a very interesting battle, you versus you. That's what Ironman is all about, and it's just a very different dynamic shift in having that above yourself reason and purpose rather than just that internal self-drive.
Right.
Wow. Yeah.
So were you hooked after your first one?
Oh, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you were hooked. So what do you think was the main draw to you? Was it just like the side of yourself that came out on race day that you saw, or just, the competitiveness that you saw again? Like what would you say?
Well, I think number one, the community is so, you guys, there are people that the para athletes, they don't have legs.
Yeah.
And they're finishing these things. Again, goosebump moment. It just shows you that you're capable of so much.
Yeah.
And especially with where I was mentally coming out of college, I think it was such a good release to be able to say, you can accomplish anything that you want. Even though today was really, really hard, look at all these other people. It's almost like you can't have an excuse to have self-pity when you're watching all these people out there. Mm-hmm. And something that my triathlon coach always tells me, and she goes, during the day, there are going to be people suffering a lot more than you.
Yeah. Because
we're accustomed to that suffering. And, sometimes I have to think about that there are people that work really hard to get here and they are suffering just to get to that finish line. It takes every fiber of their being to lift the right foot up and put the left foot down and get to the finish line. So yes, I was addicted after the first one. I think part of it was I kind of am a glutton for pain. I would do it without,
understandable.
I would do it without socks. I'd have bleeding ankles, all this crazy stuff. But
it kind of comes down to that doing hard things. We kind of talk about a lot, being as though this is kind of a, very mindset dominant podcast. We have people that have, do different activities or have different struggles. We've had Boone, who's a, quadriplegic, and, we've had Micah, who doesn't have legs. We've had Cheryl, who competed while she was going through breast cancer treatment, like all of these struggling things. But I think one of the common things that keeps bringing everybody back around the mindset that seems to be common with everybody is that we all kind of are so into challenge, and finding the things that challenge us, and it gives you that, that's the only way you can almost get that feeling of satisfaction is when you do drain that tank, find something that really pushes you to, your limits. Would you say that you feel that on a regular basis training, or mainly during the race?
No, I don't remember what the study is, but I think that you commonly hear that one more rep or last one, best one is a commonly used phrase.
Yeah.
And you have to ask yourself for that one more. Can this very last one after your fatigue be your best one?
Right.
And I think that that's what separates the top 1% from the rest of everybody else. Certainly. Is being able to push to that limits. In my training, it's a lot of 80-20 because we go 30 days, 60 days straight of training. Right. Mm-hmm. Right. And you're going to have your rest days, but then when you go hard, you have to be prepared to go completely all out.
Right.
So I agree with that in draining that tank and that going one more philosophy. But what I was going to get to is I think that there was a study done, I think it was, I can't remember if it was running or cycling, and they would ask these athletes to just go as fast as you can for 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. All out. Go. And then they stop them without telling them and be like, right, do it again.
Yeah.
And it was funny because even though the athletes thought that they gave everything that first time, they were able to continue to go and give more.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing to think. I think mindset too. I don't know if you've read the book, seen the movie. I guess a movie called Unbroken, about that World War II soldier. Anyway, just incredible to think what the human body is capable of.
Yeah.
But it really is the brain and your mental side is what's actually keeping you back from reaching that.
Yeah, it really, I feel like, especially in competitive sports like that, like the mindset it's everything, and just being able to put yourself in that mental place to be able to do that one last rep, and just to tap into that, to draw more out of yourself, to where you're literally stumbling across the finish line. That's when you had a good race.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. So like I mentioned before, you're number one in the world right now for women ages 30 to 34, right?
Yep.
Wow.
So when did that happen? How did that happen?
Oh yeah.
Well, I raced a lot. I got a lot of points. So again, it is a point system. I will definitely say there are some women out there that are very talented, better than I am, and I'm always chasing them, always. But point system, I think I raced like 6 times in 2019 before the pandemic happened, and I just crushed every race that I was in.
Good.
So that was able to get me there. And then in 2019, I also performed the best I've ever done. Oh my gosh, you guys, European athletes are crazy amazing. So competing in Nice, France was probably one of the best experience I've ever had. We raced on the Col de Vence, which is part of the Tour de France course.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Whoa, that's
It
awesome.
was so cool. I was like,
That's pretty surreal, huh?
You
yes.
catch yourself in the middle of it. I know you got to be focused, but you catch yourself like, where am I right now? Like, this is ridiculous. This is insane.
Yeah.
oh, 100, like
All the time.
you guys, I can't even explain this beast of a mountain that we climbed.
man.
I mean, we get up there, and I was like, okay, getting up this wasn't that bad. The backside going down was the scariest thing I have ever seen. I had to ride it 2 times before actual race day because that was the scariest thing about the race for me, was just going downhill.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And the brakes on those bikes are not stellar.
They can be, but it's still like
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's because there's so many people there. I'm mostly afraid about other people. I'm confident. I rode the course twice. It's the crazy girl that just flew in 2 days ago, jet lagged, and she has to see this for the very first time, and she's like, "Ee."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
that
you-
speaks to preparation for
Yes.
sure.
Yeah. No, that's super important. So do you is there a lot of like accidents, quote unquote, that happen during race day, or
Yes. Nice, there was a lot for the men, because the men are a lot more ballsy, let's just be honest. They're like, I'm going to fly down this hill at
Sure.
Mach speed.
Yeah.
So there was some injuries. I actually saw a girl in Nice, like, pancaked in the middle of the road.
Ooh.
Like, she was definitely injured.
Oh,
Yeah.
And actually, this last weekend, rest his soul, we had an athlete from Boise pass away
No
at St.
way.
George. Yes.
Oh, wow.
How did that happen?
Yeah.
Like
He
heat
had
stroke or something?
a cardiac episode in the water.
Oh no.
Yes, so there's actually I'm feeling terrible right now. I feel like his first name is Gary. I feel like I should go look at it, but he left a wife and 3 daughters
no.
behind.
I can look just to see if you would like me
That's
to.
Yeah.
that is terrible.
So unfortunate things happen like that. I mean,
Yeah.
you can be as prepared as you can, but there are some things that are just beyond.
Yeah, I mean, if it's your time, I guess it's your time. So,
The St. George, is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
so another question that we ask on here is, what are you most proud of? So you say your growth. So I guess explain that a little bit to us.
Every day is a growing experience, and I think that many athletes, I mean, if you're stagnant, why be here?
Yeah.
And the more you know, the more that you realize that you don't know.
Yes.
And I just feel like every step in every race that I'm doing, every training practice, every new person that I talk to, I'm just constantly finding better ways to make myself more productive and a better person. And that's something that I'm really, really proud of, in the standpoint that I feel like I can help a lot more people in that, because I think there's a lot of women, Ironman is mostly male dominated.
Right.
And I want women to know that they can go after their dreams, achieve whatever they put their mind to, whether you've got kids, whether you don't have kids. I mean, there are many women out there that are very high-level athletes that are having children and bouncing back.
Yeah.
And still doing their thing.
Yeah.
Keeping healthy, making good lifestyle choices.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to go back, they do not name him. I think they might want to keep it private, so I can't find anything. But anyway, that sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, with that, what does day-to-day training look like for you? You say, obviously there's a lot of lessons to be learned in your training and help that you can, provide other people for sure. I absolutely I think, this platform's great. I think, I hope a ton of people listen to this and learn from you, but, what does the day-to-day training look like for you, both physically and mentally? How do you approach your days?
Time management. You're a busy man with a lot of things going on. You both are very busy, so I know that people with families are in the same boat and work full time. It's time management. If I've got a double day of swimming and biking and running, whatever the case may be, I usually like to get those done right off the bat. Whether I have to wake up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and get that done before I go to work, that's done. You got to check that off your list.
So how do you mentally, organize that in your brain? Because I think a lot of people, I want this podcast to help people that struggle that, and they might see you and say, well, she can do it because they own their own business or whatever. They kind of make excuses. Like, what is the mental process? Like, what do you think about when you don't want to get out of bed early? And
I'm sure you don't all the time,
and you don't want to get on that bike. I mean, let's be honest, like the training, even though a lot of it is sub-maximal, similar to how powerlifters aren't 1 rep maxing every day. You're not riding a max distance or a max effort on a bike every day, but still it takes a lot. So how do you mentally approach that?
Okay, first of all, you got to have a plan. I think that getting yourself organized and writing down, having a priority list, I think some people call it kind of like a brain dump.
Right.
However you want to do it, put it down on paper, get over whatever you need to be done.
Right.
When I go to bed, I look at my next day's training schedule, and I know right then and there if it's like I said, if it's a double day that I need to really lock down and get it done. Because, like I said, I work. I've got other things going on after work. I like to spend time with my husband.
Right. You want to do like casual things. You need to brush your teeth and shower still. I mean, those things take time, right?
Exactly. So prioritizing that first. Yes, you're going to have to make sacrifices.
Yeah.
You cannot make your dreams come true without sacrifice.
100%.
Period. Anything that you want in life, you're going to have to give something up to get it. My lifestyle choice does not give me a lot of opportunity to go out late at night and do these things. My friend circle is super small because I need people that are going to support my dreams.
Right.
So those are sacrifices that I'm willing to make for the long-term goal.
Right.
So first step, putting down what you want on paper. What does that look like daily, weekly, monthly? Then it's just a matter of, number one, and this is something it was like an aha moment for me. You only can give 100% during a day. There is no such thing as 110%. There's no such thing as making it up tomorrow.
Right.
If EricCafferty gives you a lifting prescription for Tuesdays and Thursdays, and those are your leg days, do leg day on leg day.
Right.
Because you cannot make up what you missed. You just can't. It's not possible. Because if you have a prescribed workout for one day, you cannot effectively do it per the prescription if you have something else attached to it.
Right.
So if you're going to commit to your dreams and your goals, you have to make sure that you do those sacrifices to get that done that day.
Yeah, prioritization for sure, and making sure that it comes first. I think a lot of people run into issues with that, with things that come up, and it's like there can be a million different excuses for you to not get up and do stuff, right? Same thing with nutrition. Obviously nutrition's a huge part of fueling your body for races, but even when people are just eating to become healthy and, change their lifestyle, and the thing that it just doesn't compute in my head, people come into me all the time and, not quite as much anymore because I don't work with a lot of beginners right now, but, it used to be like work with a ton of, beginners just getting into weight training and exercise and things like that. And nutrition's a big piece of that. And even still, like I have clients that at the end of the day, they're not meeting their nutritional requirements. And I'm like, thinking to myself, like, did you not look at this like before you went to bed? Because there's still things left on the table. Like if you're under eating, for example, like, did you not check your calorie tracker at night before you went to bed? Because if I check where my macros or my nutrition is at before I go to sleep and I'm low on something, I go and search my house for literally whatever is going to get me to that.
Yeah.
So if I
just rummaging stuff together,
seriously,
put it in a bowl, put it in the mouth.
Yeah.
If I goofed up and I have like tons of protein left to eat and I'm out of carbs and fats, then I'm like, well, egg whites or chicken it is. You know what I mean? As lean as possible to get those numbers close. And even still, like, people have like they'll just have numbers left on the table, and I'm like, did you not check this before you went to sleep? Like, that just does not compute in my brain. Like, if somebody gives you a map to get where you want to be, and you consciously ignore the path or consciously deviate from the path knowingly, that, like, it's like the answer to a math problem, like the answer, but you just don't do
willfully ignore it.
Yeah, you just like
Yeah, right.
It's just like you kind of dink around and you just don't get the right answer. It's like, well, if the solution is there, like, just take the steps. It's that it's like it's just pre laid out. It's kind of a guarantee at that point, right?
Yeah, if you don't read it, I also like the term burn your boats. Like, if you're
Talk about that all the time. Yeah.
if you commit to something and you have that initial excitement about trying something new, and you go, "Ooh, let's do this," but you haven't gone, you know what, Carolyn, this is something you've been wanting to do for a really long time. Are you willing to go all in, and what would that mean to you to do that?
Right.
And you kind of have to ask yourself that question before you go into making a challenge. What am I willing to add to my regimen? What am I willing to give up?
Right. And, it's funny, you ask people that, and a lot of people, they're like, well, I would do anything to get X, Y, Z. It's like, well,
very
really?
easy to talk. It's
really?
very easy to talk.
So what would you say drives you on a daily basis to do that? Like, I talk a lot about, like, motivation and how much bullshit it is, right? Because, you're motivated, like you said, with that initial excitement. You're motivated with, these
the dream
external factors, right? Like the thought of it, right? So, but to be driven and to just do the things required, what would you say, like, what puts that in you?
I think it's the vision of the end goal. And I'm sure that a lot of people do that with you. I mean, I just think that Jess, your client Jess, is just like a hottie, total hottie. And I'm like, oh my gosh, her body is amazing. But I know how much work goes into looking like that. I'm like, I don't care to work like that. I can work like that for something else. But I think it's the end goal. And quite honestly, I do a ton of visualization.
Yeah.
So I honestly have this picture in my mind. I mean, my goal has always been to podium at a world championship. I eventually want to do that at the half Ironman distance and the full Ironman distance. That's the goal. And I know that doesn't happen overnight. I know that. It's going to take a long time, a lot of work, because guess what? Those girls are just as good and better than I am, and they are waking up and saying that same thing. And so number one, I have that visual in my mind of it actually happening. What does it look like when I break the tape? How does it feel? Every element of that is inside of my body when I see it in my mind.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. And then also I ask myself, I look at all these incredible people around me that I want to be like. If you want to change your life, you also have to sometimes make that sacrifice of, is this friend here really helping me get to my goals?
That can be really tough too, to cut something like that out.
Yeah.
Oh,
Especially
yeah.
if you've been in there for a while. But anyway, it's critical.
Yeah.
Critical.
Yep.
Yeah. So surrounding yourself with that type of crowd, having a supportive husband, obviously.
Mike, oh my God. I'll get back to we'll circle back to Mike
We'll circle
here.
back to Big Mike, yeah.
But I honestly look at all of my competitors and I see them achieving things that I want to achieve, and I always think to myself, that could be me.
So that,
why not me?
So that gets you on the bike in the morning. You'd say.
I know that those women are out there thinking the same thing. They're swiping through the Instagram, be like, what's Carolyn doing?
Yeah.
I'm doing the same thing to them. I'm getting in the ice baths. I'm waking up early. I'm doing the things that nobody else wants to do so that when push comes to shove, and this is actually something. So in St. George was the North American Championships last weekend. I knew it was going to be tough. I knew it was going to be tough competition. Caitlin
Was it a full?
It was a half.
It was a half. Okay.
Caitlin Standiford used to be an ex-pro. Like, she's running like a 1:17 half marathon. She's like insane.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was like, how is this gonna pan out tomorrow? But I went for it. I'm like, I know she's amazing,
Listen,
but I'm still gonna go for it.
You gotta run. You gotta run your race. You know what I mean?
You versus you, right?
If you allow yourself to not think that you're not going to achieve the goal, like I don't go into race going, I'm going to get second to this girl.
Yeah, hell no.
Right.
What do you think your result is going to be if you go
Second or
in
less.
thinking that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a guaranteed second.
So
Yeah.
I know that we're all at such a level that if we all show up and have our best day, it's going to be a tough day. But there's a lot of things that can happen in 70.3 miles.
Oh, for
my
sure.
chain fell off my bike 1.5 miles from the bike finish.
Oh,
No.
get out of here.
So I think in my mind, can I just like let my bike go in? Like, is it going to take me there? Am I going fast enough for me to just coast in? Or is it going to be faster for me to get off my bike, put my chain back on my bike, and then start going again?
Right.
I waited. I wasn't going anywhere. So I hopped off my bike, put the chain back on, and then started biking again.
Right.
At that very moment, I said, I will not fall out of the top 3. I
Right.
told myself that right then and there. I said, I will not let this setback take me out of the top 3 in this race. And I won third by 0.15 seconds.
Let's go.
There you go.
That's awesome.
0.15. So it's kind of that adversity mindset too,
Right.
where of course shit's going to happen to you.
Oh, absolutely.
Of course there's going to be days where you stubbed
Nothing-
your big toe.
Yeah. And that much distance and, and that activity and any other, like, nothing's ever going to go perfect.
No.
Ever.
No.
I always like the saying, like, those people who are successful are the people that are, good at plan B,
Yes.
basically. And I fully subscribe to that. Those people that are successful are not only good at plan B, but those people that are successful, especially in something that's as dynamic as triathlons, like, you are good at plan B, but you're good at plan C, D, and E. Like, it goes down the list. Like, you have to be, that comes down to being prepared and just,
Well,
just
have, I think, the same excitement for B that you had for A, and then for C that you had for B. Like, you never you never lose.
I mean, it just comes
make an
down to
excuse.
like honing towards that goal, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you just do what you got to do, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna make it. It might not look pretty, but I'm gonna make it.
Exactly. And I think that a common thing that athletes use is like a reset word. Have you guys heard of this?
Yep.
Like,
I haven't, but I like that.
So there's like, you can, like, my reset phrase is let's go. Like, if stuff is going south and things are not going the way that I'm doing it, I'm swimming and it's just not feeling right, you can do like a physical reaction and a mental reset word. So you can like tap your fingers, clap your hands, tap your head, do a reset word and keep going. Yeah, shit happens. Let's go.
Yeah.
Move on.
Yeah, and there's, depending on the situation. Have you read David Goggins' book?
Yeah, yes.
Which is phenomenal. We'll get into books later, but
Yeah.
it's he has a couple of different things. Like he talks about like his accountability mirror, and then
Yes.
like
Yeah,
the
that's
cookie
hardcore
jar
stuff.
and all that stuff. And it's like, I think for me going through tough things like that, when it's like everything's on the line, like it's do it. And for me, I feel the same way as you. Like if I'm going to do something and commit to do it, like at no point am I going to start something that I don't intend to finish. Like you start with the intent on finishing, you know what I mean? And finishing at your best, ideally, right?
Yeah.
That's your plan, of course. But anyway, there's both positive motivators and negative motivators, and there's time and place for both of those, I think, because sometimes you just flat out need to tell yourself like it's not a pep talk, it's you need to quit being a pussy, you know what I mean?
100. Yes.
And I like and the things especially physically that I do, because that's more the spur of the moment thing. As opposed to like, with business, the same thing can be said, like just make the leap, like quit pussyfooting around, but with physical things, it's literally like, you're better than this. Like stop with all the noise, tune it out, focus, and put it out there. You know what I mean? Like what else do you got? You know what I mean? And then there's of course those times where you definitely need that, that reset of positivity, like let's go, come on, let's get it done. So I mean, how many times does that happen in a race?
Yeah, that's a good question.
All the time.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys, you can't wear headphones.
Right. You're stuck in your own
You're
head.
in your own head. You got
This
nothing
is
else.
4.5, 5 hours. Ironman is 10.
Yeah.
So, it's a lot of...
Time in your head.
Am I getting a blister?
Oh.
Oh my God, I'm getting a blister. Wait a minute. Why am I talking to myself this way? I mean, it's just
Yeah.
a constant...
Yeah. And I think that's the misconception with people too, is like, especially in your sport, is like, you think these people are just like, they're just doing it. You know what I mean? They're just going, like they, they don't get doubts. They don't, anything like that. Like, I mean, tell us about that.
There's a lot. I always ask Mike about this, and he's like, well, I just focus on breathing and da-da-da. I think everything is so different for each individual.
Yes.
But heck yes, there are, you get in the swim. Am I behind? Your watch dings off, because my watch goes off every 500 yards.
Okay.
Zing. I look at it. Am I going too slow or too fast? Well, if this was slower than I had planned, what am I going to do now? How do I speed up? Can I speed up? That goes through your mind all the way through the race. Did I give too much on my bike, so now I don't have any wheels for the run?
Right.
Everything is so perfectly planned out in your race. I mean, ideally perfectly planned out. And if you skip one step, you could potentially ruin your day.
Wow.
If you miss one nutrition stop, you could get dehydrated. If you're in Mexico, you're a goner. Like, see you later. She melted.
Yeah.
But it's a mental talk all the way through the day. And kind of going back to David Goggins, something that has always resonated with me from his writings is taking that power. We all have energy and that you can feel. Everybody's energy is palpable. So I go out there and I think to myself constantly that I'm stealing their souls. I mean, I know that's classic Goggins, but I feel that if somebody's suffering out there, I run by them and I take whatever power they have left and I run. And when I pass people that I'm, gunning for, I've got a target on their back, I want them to know that they're never going to goddamn catch me again. Once I pass them. I pass them with everything that I can, and along the way, I sucked their energy out, and I ran with it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
I'm sorry. You kind of turn into this, like, crazy juggernaut person out there. It's like,
Yeah, but it's so
no
cool to
lives
hear that.
spared.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
kind of get that Spartan mindset.
Yeah, I mean, we do talk about like going to that place, but that's just the place that you go to when you're, an elite competitor. And the thing that, might surprise a lot of people that, see you and you've had a bunch of success in the sport, you're on the top, blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, she must not have doubts and worries and things like that. And it's like, no, like everybody, it's human nature to have those doubts. It's the ability to have that mindset to push through it that separates you. You know, you don't think Lance Armstrong had worries and struggles and doubts? I mean, it can be said for any sport anywhere. Like everybody has doubts, and you know, to think that you can't face somebody else is just, you know, that's lunacy. Like you can absolutely get into other people's heads. You can absolutely take everything from them. It's
mental warfare out there.
Oh yeah,
unbelievable.
Yeah,
I mean, there is nothing more powerful than like, sorry guys, but I love thrashing down on men. Like they're pedaling around, and then I pass them, and they're like, "This chick, what's she doing?" They come up on me. I'm like, bye-bye, boy. Don't even try it. Not today. You have to create almost a alter ego for yourself. Like,
sure.
Honestly, I think people that know me is like, oh my God, she's like the nicest person. And if she's yelling at me, like, she's like, oh, if you could just please not do that, but I'll fucking kill you if you cross me. But I think where I kind of left off was, I think that my breakout as an athlete was when I really identified how I thought of myself. And I think that's something that people who need that extra motivation is, what is your internal talk?
Right.
And what are you telling yourself on a daily basis? You know, I had always thought of myself as an underdog. I'm small. You see me against these other girls, and they're tall, they're big, and I'm like, okay, I'll just creep up on everybody. And when I actually started looking at myself as somebody who deserved a seat at the table and deserved to be one of the elite athletes, everything started changing.
Absolutely.
And I think that once you start to identify those things that you've told yourself for so long, I mean, your brain wants you to feed it that normal talk. Like if you've always been, Carolyn, you're an underdog. Carolyn, you're an underdog. Breaking that habit in your subconscious is so hard. So like for a long time, this is going to sound crazy, I used to sit in my car before I went to work, and I was like, I'm a badass. What was my little mantra? I said, I am powerful, I am strong, 70.3 miles is not that long. I would constantly tell myself these things over and over again in the car, just to make sure that my brain was rewired into a champion. Right. I don't want to be an underdog. Right. No one does. You want to be the champion, the master of your ship, the commander of your soul. And once you start bringing that back
you gotta
to
embrace
center,
that, right?
Then your life will change. If you keep saying, poor me, my circumstances, well, if she can have it, why can't I have it? You can't point
100%.
Fingers and do that. You have to just recapture what you can do.
Absolutely.
I love that.
You know?
I like how you said rewire too. I think a lot of people think their current mindset is just like, well, she can do that because that's her mindset. It's like you made that your mindset. Like you rewired your brain.
You're not just born that way. You know what I mean? Especially with all the, you know, the doubt that's put into you and things like that. Like I 100% agree. I mean, you're not going to be a champion until you have the mindset of a champion first.
Yes.
You know, I think that's so powerful.
Got to put that on a pillow.
I mean, it's just like
That's good.
before you go to bed.
Yeah, that's right. That's genius, actually.
I am a champion. But, you know, it's just, it really goes back to, I don't go into the race thinking I'm coming in second.
Right.
Never.
No, 100%.
Never. Yep. And if you think that you're going to come in second every day at your job, and this is something that I tell my people, we've got 250 people that work for us. I'm like, if you're not happy here, you don't have to wait for me to fire you or whatever the I'm like, you can fire me too.
Yeah.
Take your power. Don't wait and rely on other people to change the course of your future. Change the way that you view your things. If you're not happy with your job, fire your boss. If you're not happy with your life, change your life. If you're not happy with your body, take small steps to get there. Like I said, sometimes it's just positive affirmations in your car in the morning. Maybe just getting up and be like, you know what, I'm going to do 10 push-ups every morning and 10 push-ups every night for 1 week. That's my first step. And you guys, making those small goals will change things so much in the long run.
Huge.
Add that one thing, take it away. So recently I was like, okay, I'm going to do my abs, my push-ups, and I'm going to stop eating Uber Eats for a week because it's so easy for me to get busy and be like, I just got to get that teriyaki bowl.
Yeah, I find that big time, and even like with lifting or with doing, an activity, it's almost like, you feel that sense of procrastination. Like, I don't want to do this. Like, this is going to hurt. This is going to be hard. But, you sit there and you get in the right headspace. You know what I mean? No matter what you tell yourself, like, sometimes if you're going to go lift, like, that 500 pounds isn't going to deadlift itself. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Not
seriously,
many people can.
or that, that 10 miles isn't going to run itself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whatever the case may be, like, it's totally normal for, even elite athletes. Like, you have that moment. I kind of think about it in my head as like, the locker room scenario, because prior to, hockey games is for me, right? Different for everybody, but, you have that time in the locker room. And I was, generally speaking, I was one of the first ones in the locker room. And it's because, and I got a lot of crap from teammates, from coaches, all that stuff. Crazy. Because because I took forever to get dressed. It was like I could not hurry to get my hockey gear on, and it's a process, right? I mean, you got your shin guards. First, you get your bottom layer on, your jock strap, your socks, your whatever, and then you got your shin guards, and then your socks, and then your pants, and then your skates, and then your shoulder pads, elbow pads, jersey, gloves. It's like
probably the most padded sport out there.
Right.
It has to be.
Yeah.
Black flying discs, right? But no, I mean, there is a reason for that. So like I can really relate to that sitting in your car type of a situation. And I think about it in my mind, it's sitting in the locker room. And to me, getting the gear on, it's the same thing as you're essentially putting on the mask. You're putting on the alter ego. When I played sports, I was not the same person in the arena or on the ice as I was outside the ice. Same thing when I'm lifting and I'm actually getting my workout in, it's like my wife yesterday comes in and starts trying to talk to me when I was kind of pacing the gym in between sets. And she just gave me a look and she's like, okay, it's not the right time. And
Call you later.
Yeah. Because it's like you have to become a different person. You know what I mean? And that person is kind of a dick a lot of times, because there's no room for excuses. There's no room for that. But it takes that, quote unquote locker room time. It takes that framing of mind to take, yourself into that place. Like it takes time to get your body mentally and physically into that place where you can perform.
Right.
Can you resonate with that a little bit?
100. Well, okay. So what you were kind of talking about with getting that mindset, getting ready, you're doing things that inherently you are not comfortable doing.
Right.
So you're spending a lot of energy to be able to get into that mindset. So you don't want anybody coming in to bother you when you've committed to doing something that you actually don't want to do. Your brain and subconscious is like, you don't want to get into that ice bath. Hey, you have to run hard for 1:30. You're in the middle of rep 3 of 8.
Right.
How hard do you really want to run this? And each time you ask that question to yourself, do you really want to run this? Your answer should be, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
And that is that mental preparation and that toughness that you get from taking that time. Taking that locker room talk, taking that time in your car, whatever you do to get yourself into that rhythm. But it's that change of mindset where you go, instead of doing the easy route, of course I could kick back and watch Netflix with my husband and take my, maybe I was supposed to do 2,000 swim.
Right.
Okay, it's a recovery swim. How important is it really? I mean, I could just hang out here with my man.
I'm recovering with my man right here.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Why would I need to go to the pool? Well, get your ass. Let's go to the pool.
Yeah. It's like there's no question if. You know what I mean? It's like, and that's, I think, the big thing, like, I have tremendous respect for the amount of time that you spend in the activity. Like aside from just, the mental aspect of, preparation to do these activities. And, when you say you're going to do something, there's no BS. You just do it. Oh. You know what I mean? But aside from that, it's like, the planning because of the time commitment. Let's talk about the time commitment. How much time are you allotting to these activities on a daily and weekly basis?
Well, it really depends. I mean, you can have your ramp up times and your cool or recovery times, I guess you can say. Ironman, you're up there 15, 16, 17 hours a week. Mm-hmm. And it's, and the big chunks of it usually come on the weekends for me. Right. Those are the 5-hour rides, the 3-hour rides, the runs afterwards. I mean, you have to mold your entire day around getting this done. Did you eat before? Did you make sure that everything is going to go right before you hop on the bike for 5 hours?
Right.
So it is a big time commitment. And if you get lazy in the day, who wants to ride until 11 o'clock at night? Right. Or midnight. So if you mess up in one little area, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
That's why I think a lot of endurance athletes are morning people.
Yeah. Because
they're type A, number one. They ask themselves those questions is, am I willing to do things that other people are not? Well, you're doing Ironman, so yes, you already are in that
Check
boat.
That one off.
Yeah.
So yeah, the time commitment, it is just... It's a lifestyle choice.
Yeah. Oh,
that's it. It is a lifestyle choice. I live it, breathe it every single day.
Yeah. And that's just it, with people that want to get results in any way, it's a lifestyle choice. Mm-hmm. If you want to be fit and healthy, that's a lifestyle choice. Even my clients that have no intention on competing in anything, they're committed to being healthy for their families. They're committed to living a long life. They're committed to not just living and being present, but they're committed to being active and doing things with their kids or having certain experiences. Like, you got to make that choice. Like, those people are up, they're in the gym before work, or they're up, they allot time, they spend that time in engaging in the things that they need to do. It's just obviously the level that you're at is taking that a step further, and it's more all encompassing upon your life. Obviously it's huge.
I mean, I am very blessed that you have Casey too, so my husband is so supportive. He is very invested in his health and fitness, mental. I mean, he's just all in on all that stuff. So that does make it a lot easier when your partner is invested in it with you.
Yeah.
I mean, because we keep each other, I'm like, of course we want to spend some time with our dogs and hang out, but he knows my goals and I know his. So I'm like, baby, I love cuddling with you, but
there's times to cuddle. You know what I mean? There's always time for that. It's just, the amount, I guess. But yeah, I mean, Big Mike, man, I met him, we met in the gym, actually, but then ended up competing with each other, like 2009, I think, something like that. And then I had a random chemistry class with him at Boise State.
Oh, really?
It was hilarious.
There you go.
He ended up going to law school, which had nothing to do with chemistry.
Right, but he was there.
But yeah, so that was pretty random and funny, but... Yeah, I mean, the support from a spouse, I mean, it's impossible to do something like you do without that.
Oh, yeah, and they have to be okay with the time it takes being away from the family.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, so talk a little bit about that. Like, what do you think? I mean, well, so let me ask you this. How do you think competing in triathlons, and maybe not even the competition part of it, but just all of the training, the all-encompassing like lifestyle that you have, how would you say that has enriched your relationship with your spouse?
Mike came from a bodybuilding background. So, it's pretty cute when we first met. He's like, I'm in good shape. Like, I'll go on a run with you. I'm like, all right, let's go. We ran 6 miles, and he was just totally dying.
Oh, dude. Yeah, 6 miles.
Forget about it.
So, I think that was actually for the first part of our relationship, we still were pretty separate. Like, he still did a lot of lifting, and I did a lot of running still. And then at one point, he's like, I'm going to do a half marathon. He didn't really train for it, which bothered me because I'm like, don't commit to something and then not train. Like it offended me. He knows this. So, but then I was like, you know what? I'll do a bikini competition. You know, if you're going to do that, I'll go in. I'll go do this too, which I think is really important. If that's something that he values, I might as well dip my toe in the water.
Huge. That's huge. That's awesome. Like, I mean, respect to you right there. I mean, that's a commitment. You know what I mean? To go full circle, you know, just because it's something that your spouse is into, but like seriously commendable, right? Like I wish more people had that in them. You know what I mean? To do that.
Well, you know, it's just when you go all in, I mean, we're talking about making that commitment, burning the boats. I went all in when I married my husband. Right. And you can't make a marriage work if you don't meet each other in the middle and take interest in what their interests are.
Absolutely.
And he would have never understood what I go through if we didn't do that with each other.
Right.
Oh, sure.
So going through the bikini competition, I mean, I had a great time. It was terrifying. I looked amazing for 3 days, and then but it was such an eye-opening experience. I have such respect for the sport. I mean, it is a combination of hard work, dedication, diet, early mornings, long days, starving.
I just of that, for sure.
All of those things, it's exhausting. And then honestly, just being on the stage and posing, who would have thought in a million years that was so, it's an art form.
Oh yeah,
it's an art form.
It's
difficult.
It is.
And I have done none of it, and I still know that.
Yeah.
I mean, you just try, people are like, pop your butt. I'm like, how are you doing that? Why is that looking like that? I'm not, it is just, the world of bodybuilding is so fascinating to me, and yes, it's so hard, and I have so much respect for the athletes that do that. I don't like other people judging me like that, because I was like shaking with every...
Oh yeah.
It's just, even your eyelids were shaking. I'm like, why?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's an experience, for sure. Oh yeah.
I don't regret it. I did one NPC bikini show, and I did one natural show, and I think I'm good.
Yeah.
So that
respect to that.
Yes.
Yeah, that was really fun. And then Mike has actually been.
Yeah, I saw a picture of him in some sort of jersey with some sort of medal or something.
Yes, he did the 70.3 with me last weekend. He's training.
Wow.
Yes, he's actually training to do a full Ironman, maybe this July. So if we can get it.
Wow.
But y'all, he's so jacked, and he like has to get into those tiny little suits. And this guy's like, he's like, well, I started to lose circulation in my arms because it was so tight around his biceps. I'm like,
uh-oh, you're gonna have to make it special made.
Exactly.
Yeah. So has he been enjoying that?
Oh, he's been loving it. I mean, he does the combination of weightlifting. So he's working with Chris Gethin, and they're going through a 6-month program. So he does lifting, maintaining his body mass with increasing his endurance and fitness. So he's loving it, and he's doing really, really well. So it's been a learning experience for both of us, because he's on a rigorous schedule, and I've been taking bits and pieces of what he's learning and implementing into his life. And then, then he's not listening to me, but that's okay.
Yeah. That's marriage.
What are you going to do? Yeah, right?
What are you going to do? Yeah. So, back to a couple of things on our questionnaire that we sent you. We ask how exercise has enhanced your life. Talk to us a little bit more about that.
Well, I think exercise will save your soul. After going through college, we talked a little bit about this earlier. I was so lost. I didn't really I was getting into Ironman and stuff like a little bit. I hadn't actually done one. I'd done like duathlons and some long distance half marathons, and I just was so lost. I was so depressed. I was actually diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which in hindsight was total bullshit. They had me on every medication under the sun, and I just...
That's hard.
I mean, I'm sure you've seen people like this in your life, and I was just a zombie. A total zombie, a shell of who I used to be, and I was just so upset, not understanding where did this vibrant, energetic person go.
Yeah.
And... getting into that, I know this is crazy, but I have a little Iron Man tattoo on my side. I actually got my Iron Man tattoo before I even did an Iron Man because I went all in. I'm like, I threw away all my medication. I went cold turkey, which is not recommended. But I just went out, went up into the mountains, and ran. And it saved my soul. It saved my life,
That's
I
incredible.
believe. And I just committed to self-care with exercise and being outside and reconnecting to where I felt like we were all grounded to be is outside.
Yeah, that's incredible.
I love that. Yeah, that is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't get much more powerful than that. I mean, especially when, going from having the kitchen sink thrown at you to, realizing that that's, not the path. And yeah, I mean, cutting it cold turkey is not necessarily recommended, but, you started, you put yourself on the drug that was intended to be the antidepressant. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people don't realize how powerful like taking that control of yourself is. And, I'm not like trying to knock people on medication or anything like that, but that's how it's supposed to be in my mind. You know what I mean? Like, quit trying to take a pill to get better. Taking a pill is not going to get you better. You know what I mean?
No.
Taking a pill, generally speaking, is sticking a Band-Aid on something that you need to fix about yourself or about your life or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's so many influences that go into, children with autism. Diet can be a really huge part of the side effect, or not the side effects, but the
Cause.
Yes. So, you should have a very low sugar diet, things of that nature. And I think that if you're struggling with certain types of things, really just go back to basics.
Absolutely.
Are you eating your vegetables? Like, what are your eggs organic meats? I mean, my body is so finely tuned that if I have processed chicken, I'll have a stomach ache immediately. Immediately.
Yeah.
And Coca-Cola, sodas, all that stuff is so terribly bad for you.
Well, it's funny, when you cut stuff like that out, and I preach a lot of moderation, obviously. You know what I mean? I want people to live their lives. I want people to, experience the best of things, and oftentimes that means moderation. Can I have a Diet Coke? Yeah, I mean, you can have a Diet Coke here and there. Can you have a Coke here and there? Sure, but it's here and there. It's not like you're living on that stuff.
Here and
it's it's amazing.
At 10 a.m., 12?
Right.
That's right.
It's amazing when you really dial yourself in, like you start to notice those things.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You start to eat the right amount of calories and you start filling your macronutrients with those nutrient-dense, rich foods. Like, how much better do you feel, right?
Mm-hmm. Most people have so much mental clarity once they change up their diets.
Oh, yeah.
We did a diet program for our office. Some of people came in and were like, hey, we're going to commit to this diet. One of the women in our Chehalis office, she just had like a total aha moment. She broke through. She's our #1 sales consultant in our company. She's like, I have all the clarity in the world. I'm moving my body and the things that I'm putting in it are healthy.
Yeah.
She's like, I see it. I see the light. And it's so interesting how just some of the small things, like don't intake so much sugar.
Yeah.
Don't drink sodas. Choose a balsamic vinaigrette for your salad instead of a blue cheese, or
Right.
like I very rarely drink milk because there's just something it does chemically to my body that's just adverse.
Not right. Yeah.
But it's just like this kind of takes me onto another topic, is just listening to your body.
For
so
sure.
many people are just so busy and so
Oh, they're numb, right?
yes. They don't listen. And when you listen to your body, it will tell you. If you've ingested something that it does not like, it will
Right.
tell you immediately.
Oh,
You can't
for sure.
sleep, or you have a stomach ache, or something is weird.
The problem is they have done it so much that it just becomes a cycle. They, a lot of people don't know what good feels like.
Yeah, that's very true.
You know what I mean? So you just, you're constantly engaging in these bad habits, and we're just going to blanket statement and say lack of exercise, maybe they do exercise, but lack of really intense exercise, which is so key. There's a huge difference. And, nutrition just as a whole is just neglected. They undereat sometimes, they overeat sometimes. Drinking
vicious.
alcohol, huge one. It's like they're constantly just self-medicating with pot or alcohol or food, sugar. You keep eating the cake. Quit eating the damn cake. Like, I don't know how many times to say it. Like, I love food. You love food. I know you're a foodie. I'm a foodie. Like, everybody, it's amazing to me that people still think that, like, elite athletes such as yourself, they're like, well, she's 110 pounds, like, she must not like to eat. It's like,
I eat.
No, you can eat that of a 200-pound man.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's have a food challenge. Bring it on.
Like, let's go. But these people that just continuously put themselves in a bad place by engaging in these things that they maybe they don't. I mean, typically I think that they know they shouldn't do it. Like, if you want to become healthy, like, stop eating chicken nuggets. That's a start. Stop eating fast food. That's a start. And then the thing that really bothers me is then you have others saying, well, you can still eat fast food and be in shape. Or they, which, I mean, sure, I could go eat McDonald's. I'm still going to be the same person right now in isolation. But, and then you have what's even worse is people that start criticizing those people that are making the positive changes, and spouses do it, coworkers do it, and I call
family.
I call these people like the normals. That was like my term, because my wife used to work in an office before, like the year before we opened the gym. She worked in this allergy clinic office that was just full of people. We'll call them normals, but it's like, these are people in the medical community, mind you, which I'm not going to get into that, but she would be, they'd be asking her about what she was eating. She was training for a figure competition, phenomenal shape, and
smoke show.
They were like, oh, why are you doing this? Why would you do that? It's like talking down to people for making the healthy choices and the lifestyle. It's like, if
I just
somebody
feel like I'm biting my finger right now. I'm like, it's so annoying.
It is like, I mean, I know, you share that. It's like, somebody coming up to you and being like, well, triathlons, like, that takes so much time. Like, you must be so selfish and all that stuff. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, I cannot, like,
the insecurity,
you know what I mean?
Just
it's
blooms.
Like,
Yes, it's funny. Envy is a nasty little trait, and I feel like if you can identify that in yourself, that means you're jealous.
Yes.
And you should do something about it. So instead of being envious, you should say, you know what, you're a fucking rock star.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and be more like you.
Yeah.
And it's funny, and I think I've found myself doing that in other cases for business. I'm surrounded by an incredible elite sales team, and I'm like, I'm so jealous that this person does this. And I'm like, you know what, Carolyn? Shut up and do the same thing. You have all the same gosh darn tools. What is separating you between this person? Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. And you're 100% right. It drives me insane that people are like, when are you going to stop doing this?
Yeah. Oh, jeez. That's the
constantly. When are you going to stop doing this? How long do you think you're going to do this? I'm like, I'm going to be that 70-year-old woman that crosses the finish line in Kona that's like,
well, it's like, so you go to family functions, right? And so it's hilarious to me. Well, and my family at first, they were like super like, asking questions and then kind of judgmental and then like whatever, right? It's just the way it goes. But eventually, they kind of see the other side of it and they're like, okay, like I kind of get it, right? But it's that question like, why are you doing that? Like, why can't you eat that? Or why, it's like, why wouldn't I? Or like, I still get asked a lot because like I'll go out, I'll go like ride horses or something with my uncles and stuff, and they'll, do you want a beer? No. Do you want, or they'll even have some food and they'll be like, they're great, right? They're great people. Hey, sharing this food with me type of situation. And I'm like, no, it's okay, right? They're like, oh, well, are you training? And I'm like, well, I'm always training, right?
Yeah.
Are you going to do a competition? Same thing with like, lately I've been a little bit more in a deficit and people are like, oh, well, you're going to compete? And I'm like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, these are just the things that
I
you
asked
do.
him that. Yep.
You like they like you
That's me.
yeah, right. Well, no. I mean, it's not just that, but it, like, you know what I mean? Like people
Yeah.
like, well, you know, you're being so hardcore,
You're
like
being so extreme.
you're
Yeah, you
being-
must be doing something crazy.
You're being so extreme, like why? Like it must be for something, and it's like why can't it just be the way that we are?
Right.
You know what I mean?
I think that I don't like the word diet at all.
Yeah,
For
same.
me, it's kind of like I always frame it as a lifestyle choice. This is my
100%.
choice.
It smells.
And I feel like if you go about it that way, you get less questions, which is
Yeah.
crazy. You've had to like morph your responses so that you don't get
Well,
questioning.
it's all about framing it, right?
Exactly. So I think that it's a lifestyle choice for me. If I
Right.
don't want to drink, like it's so weird why people go, why? I'm like,
Yeah.
why do I need to explain
Well,
why
why
I'm
not?
passing on this?
You know,
well, I could flip the question and be like, well, why aren't you doing what I'm doing? And
Well-
they're just
Right.
like, well,
well, yeah, you could be that, but at the same time, like, what a gift, you know, to have people asking you those things, because here's our opportunity to explain this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. And they might be inspired by that. You know what I mean? And in a lot of cases, I think that's the case. They're like,
they're genuinely curious.
yeah, well, you know, and then the same people that were kind of, you know, dogging on you or whatever, the same judgmental people, like maybe they do start to come around and
Yeah.
start embracing some of the things that you've taught them, even though you didn't necessarily, you're like, well, this is going in one ear and out the other on this person. But maybe, you know, I'm sure you've taught people a lot of things about like what it takes. They're like, hey, well, maybe I do want to be more like her, you know, like you mentioned earlier, like take things and emulate those people that you idolize or that you know, want to be like, start doing those things. Well, maybe you all of a sudden start seeing people doing things that you're doing, and it's like, hey, now we're making a positive impact here, right?
I really like that, Eric.
Yeah,
that's pretty
I like
awesome.
that too. You know, I think that's something my husband struggles with a lot because his dietary restrictions are a lot more than mine, and we have some work to do. We have cameras in our office, and Mike has it in the kitchen, and anytime people have donuts that's supposed to be dieting, he's like, me. And he's like, they ate all the cake.
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
over the loudspeaker.
Busted.
Yeah.
Busted. Yeah.
You're on candid camera now.
Right.
It's called cake camera.
Yeah,
is what it
cake
is.
camera.
Right. Well, it's just
Cake cam.
interesting.
Yeah, there it is.
Cake cam. But, you know, somebody may ask you, you know, like if they, you know, see you running, they're like, well, she's running, she must be getting ready for a race. It's like, no, it just becomes a part of who you are, right?
Yeah.
And you're always kind of training for the next thing, you know? Even if you don't have a race coming up, like you're
Yeah.
still training, right?
Yeah, it's like COVID. There was, you know, my theory on everything was I'm going to cast a wide net. That's
Right.
what I did. I would go, you know what? I'm going to sign up for stuff. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But I feel like you just kind of needed something to look forward to.
Oh, 100%.
Yes.
Yes. That's so true.
It's a big deal.
So, since we're on the C word, COVID, how did we don't need to get into like business or anything like that, but as far as like on a personal level, you know, how did you cope with all of that? What was your decision making process when it came to, you know, kind of your actions at that time?
I think I think everybody kind of had to be kind to themselves because there was so much chaos going on. I mean, I think we've talked about energy. Energy is palpable. The energy in 2020 sucked.
It sucked.
It was weird, though, because it's very true. There was a legitimate sucky energy.
Yeah.
Like everywhere you went, you were just exhausted because everybody else was giving off an exhausted vibe.
For sure.
So I think that number one, as an athlete, you have to be kind to yourself because, yeah, there aren't going to be races.
Right.
But I'm so thrilled that my triathlon coach, Rebecca, was just like, I told her, I'm like, shit's happening in Mexico. I'm fine with going there. I'll be safe. Let's go for this. And I
Yeah.
actually think that training for a full Ironman was probably one of the best things that I could do because it takes up a
Yes.
shit ton of your time. I don't
Yes.
have anything else but to focus on my nutrition, my eating, my sleeping, and
Yep.
my exercise. And it kept me
Absolutely.
so zeroed in, and it was a great experience.
Focusing on something positive. You know what I mean? Big time. No.
Whether or not it happened or not, I still had goals.
Right.
And it's not like
You're still moving in a positive direction.
Exactly. It's not like the work didn't go to anything
Right.
good.
Right. Well, what's the worst that could happen, right? The race doesn't happen.
Yeah,
so what
and
do you
I'd be
like
like, oh, now I'm in Ironman shape. Perfect. My endurance is amazing.
Yeah, that's
Great.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's so key to have stuff like that to focus on. I mean, not only does it help with just, daily life stress, but, other stressors out there, like how great is it that you can pour your energy into something positive like that all the time, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So back to our questionnaire here. Top 3 things you're most passionate and obsessed with today. And how does that change, or how did that change from when you were young?
Always going fast. Obviously, I'm obsessed with going fast right now, and especially when the upper echelons of triathlon, like I said, I took third by 0.15 seconds. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you have to be aero. Your helmet has to be fast. Your bike has to be fast. One advantage I have from being light is that I can go uphill like a goddamn hummingbird.
Yeah.
Like, see you later. But going down, I'll do all that work going up, and then EricCafferty flies by me at 50 miles an hour. Like, what am I supposed to do with that?
I do not fly by her at 50 miles an hour.
I will fly by you.
There you go. But, going fast is such an obsession with me right now. The growth, the knowledge portion of it, there's always so many new studies coming out, so many new products coming out on the market. I mean, you just can't help but learn so much and grow so much all the time. And then, when you're younger, I just feel like you don't know really where you're going. It's hard to get, you're obsessed with the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's it's hard to have that vision. You're kind of caught up with, trying to find yourself, when you're young, for sure. In a lot of ways, you say you're an avid shoe collector.
Oh my God.
Nice.
Yeah. So one thing I want everybody to know is never put yourself in a box. I mean, I'm a triathlete. That's good, but I'm a fashionista, man. I have
There
my
you go.
long nails. Everybody's like, how do you compete with those? I'm like, that's just me.
Just make it
I
happen.
compete in style is what I
Yes,
do.
exactly. I mean, honestly, I think that maybe you guys have heard of this. It's got to be relevant in bodybuilding. Like, you have your outfit that you wear. Bikini competitors, whatever you're wearing, it's like your superhero outfit.
Oh, for sure. Putting the mask on, man.
Yeah.
That's
Yes, so that's super important to me. And like I said, I'm involved in a family-owned business. It's a lot of gentlemen at the home office that have a seat at the big decision-making table. And you know what? This makes me feel good.
Yeah.
I love shoes. I love clothes. It makes me feel like I have a seat at the table, and it just makes me feel like goddamn Wonder Woman when I'm out there. Like, she's hot. Like,
Yeah, there you go.
sometimes working out isn't hot, and that's one thing that I think that young people can kind of suffer with, is they always want to try and look good. I see girls at the gym. I'm like, why do you look like that? Like, have you even been working out today?
Yeah.
And I think that, like, messy is beautiful too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Another
There's-
pillow.
Yeah.
there's-
Messy
yeah.
is beautiful too.
Yeah, no, I mean, seriously, like, there's nothing more attractive than, I mean, I'm not just saying about, like, women. I mean, both. Like, I don't think that you'd be necessarily attracted to somebody who just, goes in the gym and just kind of, like, doesn't really do much, right? You're like, you see a person. I'm not talking about, like, attraction, but just, like, you're drawn to people that are, getting after it. You're
A
like,
lot of respect. Yeah.
right? You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think
I totally agree with that. The messy
looking
bun
the
is one of
part-
my favorite hairdos
Oh, there
that
you
a
go.
woman may have.
Dude, it's the anabolic bun.
Excuse me,
anabolic.
the anabolic bun. I will learn that, and it'll stay with me.
So goals professionally, you say you want to own your own mindset. Coaching.
Yes, I'm super excited. I'm going through a mindset coaching training right now, and I am loving it. I mean, I truly feel like that is, again, that difference maker in an athlete. You can have a lot
100%.
of talent and you can work really hard, but when push comes to shoves, it's those adversities that you have to be able to overcome, and whatever you've built in your subconscious that's going to make or break you when that moment comes.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's
So
super cool.
I've never wanted to train anybody. Everybody's asked me to train. They're like, can you please train me for this? Can you do this? And I'm like, I'm really not interested in that. I'm too selfish. When it comes to race day, I'd be like, face, get out of my face. But mindset, I mean, a coach and an athlete can benefit from a guided visualization, you know, going through affirmations on race day, going through your race day prep, anything of that nature. And again, I'm in the wellness industry. We fit hearing aids for elderly people who need our help. They will still want to live and contribute in their lives. And if you're not willing to make that investment in your wellness, I feel like if you're going to be in this community, you have to be able to invest in your body and your mind.
Oh, for sure. I mean, your physical performance is going to be nothing without the mindset behind it, like we've said multiple times. But you know, it's like you're not going to be able to have those winning performances. You're not going to be able to execute on your training. Like there's just so many things that, you know, benefit from, you know, having the right mindset. And even like you mentioned too, like coaches as well. Like, I mean, so many coaches do the wrong things when it comes to, you know, trying to help their athletes mentally prepare and things like that. And there's some really easy, you know, tricks that you can implement. There's a lot of ways that you can help people, but, you know, obviously being in the position that you're in is you're a great representative of that too, you know, because, you know, and we talk about this a lot at the gym, but walking the walk, not just talking the talk. Like, you're not going to want to go and learn from somebody that hasn't been there before, you know what I mean, necessarily. Like, so yeah, no, I think that's awesome. And I actually didn't know that, so I'm glad to learn that about you.
Super awesome.
It's new. Totally.
I just feel like I'm being coached by you now. So, I mean, subscribe.
It's a big thing. It's a big part of our culture at our company too, and it changes your lives.
Oh, absolutely. I agree 100%.
Whether it's professional or wellness oriented.
I mean, totally. I mean, that's why I started this podcast, 100%. I mean, that's hopefully, you know, one way we can kind of give back and help people get in that mindset and look into, you know, the minds of the elite, you know, the minds of the people that are doing the things, you know, learning from you. And personally, you say you want to raise a family. That's awesome. I can't wait. They're going to have little studs. And then you say, looking for podium finishes at half Ironman and full Ironman World Championships.
Hell yeah.
So where does that happen? Where are those races?
Kona's the big one.
Kona, Hawaii, correct?
Yes, Kona, Hawaii, the beast.
Yep.
The beast.
That's awesome. So when do you foresee the next Kona happening for you?
Well, I'm competing in the half Ironman in June, and that's where I actually first qualified for Kona in 2019. I won my Kona slot. That's like the one stateside half Ironman that you can qualify for the full. So my first full Ironman was the World Championship in 2019. I literally flew to Nice, competed in the half Ironman, and then had 1 month to learn how to fucking do a full Ironman and turn around and do it. And I will tell you this. The adversity that I went through in the full Ironman was something that I've never experienced in my life. Like, it almost brings tears to my eyes just to think back on the pain and the suffering that beast threw at me. Like, I thought I was in incredible shape, but that course was like, fuck you, good luck.
Yeah,
and it was,
good luck.
I finished it and I felt like shit, but then I go, when can I do that again?
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, that's
amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
No, that's exactly it. But that's just, you know, that's the heart. You know what I mean? Like, you want those things that just push you to your absolute limit.
I mean, it shook me to my core. You know, and your mind plays I know we're kind of going off on a tangent, but your mind plays so many tricks on you. I was in like 19 miles into the marathon, and I was going through the energy lab, which is the shittiest part of this race. It smells like shit. It's hot. It's terrible. Everybody just suffers in this area. And my coach told me before the race, she goes, if I catch you, we've got problems. She fucking caught me. And I was like, I saw her go by and I saw the look on her face. I knew she didn't even see me, and she went by me like a freight train. And I will never forget the look on her face. And then all of a sudden my mind goes, where's my husband? did he abandon me out here? And I started going down this crazy,
Spiraling.
I thought I was so mentally tough, and then all these crazy things started to happen to me. This guy goes, it's so beautiful, the sun is setting, how lucky are we to be out here? In my mind, I'm like, shut up, you motherfucker, what are you talking about? This sucks.
I'm gonna die.
Yeah, and it was, and this is the funniest part, it took me forever. I saw my husband, I was like bawling my eyes out. I was like, I'm so tired. And then I was running with this guy, he was chatting with me. He's like, we're almost to the finish line. And I was like, oh, okay, this guy's making me feel better. And then he literally, like, sharted.
Oh, no.
And I literally, that was the moment where I was like, things are not so bad for me. And I ran away so fast.
Things are not so bad for me.
Thank goodness for him, right?
Oh, dude.
Which is one of the downfalls about Ironman is literally shit can go south super quick.
Literally.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Oh, man.
Well,
So,
you'll
yeah.
never
What a
forget
wild
that.
thing.
Yeah.
Right.
So, preferred training style, exercise mode, all that stuff.
Yep.
The best part about this is in full caps, it says, do exactly what my coach tells me, exactly how she wants it done during the time frames given. Trust the process.
Love it.
You have 24 hours in a day to get your shit done and do it well. You cannot make it up tomorrow and expect to have the same result. It doesn't happen. So, yeah, that, I think that speaks for itself. I mean, obviously your training looks like swim, bike, run. We worked together for a little while doing a lifting program to kind of help, get some strength in areas such as on the bike and all that stuff. So, yeah, that was super fun.
I'm coming back, man.
Yeah, I always love that.
This is the first time that I got down to 620s in my run.
That's awesome.
And it stayed, so now I'm like, okay, now I gotta come back and
Gotta go
get
there.
it down to 6s.
Yep, there you go. So, yeah, I mean, working on those little things, doing some cross training here with me, things like that. But yeah, I think that's so key that people adhere, like whatever you're told to do, right? Even if you're writing yourself a plan, you write yourself a plan and you don't deviate. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's just like once the plan is in place, the plan is in place. Do it how it's intended to be done.
Quite honestly, I will say this I'm not a coach right now, but I think it's honestly an insult to the person that you're paying money to not follow their program.
Yeah.
Like, you bought into them for a reason. Right. You trusted that person, and they're giving you a roadmap.
Right.
Do what you paid for.
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly.
It quite honestly is an insult. You'll get the results. I mean, I trusted you and I got results. When you trust the process, you will get the results. There's a reason why I went with you. There's a reason why I'm with my coach right now, and it's because you get the results.
Yeah. Yeah, flat out. No, I think that's great advice. Sticking to the plan. And then we talk about top two role models.
My baby. My Mckee.
Yep. Big Mike. Big shout out to Big Mike. He's the best. And then your other one, your current coach. Who is your current coach?
Rebecca Mckee.
And she's from where?
Anchorage, Alaska.
Okay.
She is such a badass. I feel like she goes through so much adversity, and she's just a fierce fighting spirit, and I hope she's everything that I want to be when I grow up, basically.
That's so cool. That is
cool. And she just lives the dream every single day. She is a mentor to so many people, builds the triathlon community in Alaska. She lives that lifestyle of goodness and wellness, and that's something that I can get on board with.
Absolutely.
I just love how she just doesn't take any shit from anybody. And she's not afraid to tell me straight, like, bitch, you ain't doing this right.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you need people like that in your life.
Honesty is key, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you don't want people that are just stroking your ego all the time.
Yeah.
You got to tell people when they're doing things right, but you also have to tell them when they're doing things wrong. And that's but you again comes back to framing things right. You have to frame things in a way that's going to, be the proper delivery of all of that. Like, you have to provide feedback. Like, if you need to be tough on somebody, you got to be able to be tough on somebody. If you need to be tough on yourself, you got to be able to be tough on yourself. So yeah, that's awesome. She sounds great. Hope to meet her.
Yeah.
sometime.
She's a rock star.
Yeah, if she's ever around. So, what is the first thing you think of when you wake up in the morning? I know this is one of our off-the-cuff questions. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Actually, I know this is going to sound so corny, but it's gratitude.
Yeah.
I wake up, I look over, well, my husband's usually out of the bed before I am. But on the weekends, I roll over and I'm just so grateful that he's my partner and we're in this together. I have my health. I have my gorgeous family. I have so many things to be so grateful for. And I think that that's when you're grateful, good things come your way. And
Absolutely.
if you tell people that are around you how much they mean to you, genuinely,
Yeah.
life is typically good.
Yeah. No, that's
It
amazing.
all works out.
I mean, what a way to start your day, right? I mean, to be grateful for the life that you have, right?
Well, I mean, to couple that, there's genuine science behind this.
Oh, yeah, there is.
It's a chemical thing. Gratitude is a very powerful thing.
Absolutely.
It is, and if you find yourself in kind of a shitty mind frame or things aren't going well for you, I mean, there was a point during COVID last year where I was like, why can't I get out of this rut? And I
Yeah.
honestly wrote little notes to every single one of my employees telling them why I love them so much. And
How
that,
cool is that?
That
Yeah.
really helped me get out of this poor me attitude.
Yeah. Yeah. Is giving positive energy out to others for sure. That's so cool. That's awesome. Top 3 books.
Oh, yeah, David Goggins.
Yeah, Can't Hurt Me. That one's a
Can't Hurt Me.
staple.
I have like really weird.
No,
my-
let's
No
hear 'em.
judgments
Yeah,
here.
no, we
This
like
is-
the weird stuff.
I know this is so strange, but like one of my favorite books is the Kite Runner. It's
Okay.
it came out a while ago, and it just I always like those stories where people overcome so much adversity and come out
Yeah.
the other
The hero's
end.
journey.
Yeah.
I've studied that
Oh, yeah.
to the nth degree. Anyway,
But it just
yes.
makes you feel like you can accomplish anything.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
these unfortunate things happen to these people, and number one, it puts yourself back into perspective of where
Right.
you currently are. You're like, oh my gosh, is my life really that terrible?
Right.
But it just continues to reinforce that you can make choices and take actions to control your future, even though
Absolutely.
these things can happen to you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Um,
We have a third.
I'm really into Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Okay, who's that?
He's a firm believer in his books are basically the chemistry behind mindset.
Oh.
He is incredibly intelligent, and he breaks down these super scientific concepts into something that you in layman's terms can understand.
cool.
So it's the chemistry behind why your mind works exactly the way it works, and when
Right.
you do affirmations, and when he cured oh gosh, I can't remember. He had something wrong with his back. Was it his spine? But he said that the power and the energy that he used in his brain healed his back.
Oh, wow.
And he is just the most incredible read. He's got like 3 or 4 books, and he is just an enjoyable read.
Cool.
I highly, highly recommend him. If you
Nice.
haven't heard about him before, 100% recommend it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's really cool. We'll have to look into him. We'll add it to the list.
That's right.
Yeah.
Top 2 movies.
Braveheart.
Oh, dude.
Ah.
Yes.
Mel.
Oh,
Good old
man.
Mel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. One of the greatest.
If you're not psyched after that,
Say
I
no
don't know what
more.
you're doing
Braveheart. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. That's a showstopper.
I love Braveheart. It's been one of my it came out when I was in like 5th grade.
Yeah.
I couldn't actually watch the very end until I was like a junior in high school.
Yeah.
Sure,
That's
that's fair.
brutal, man. Yeah. Dude, that movie is just like, that's one that gets you in the feels, man. Every time. Every time. Yeah, almost. Yeah. That's like one that you have to watch once in a while just to like.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, get it. What's another one?
I want to say it's got to be a comedy, but there's so many good comedies. This is a tough question.
It is a
Yes,
tough
very,
question.
that's why we ask them.
You can, if you want a shotgun approach the comedies, you can give us a few.
Okay, I love Superbad. I love Knocked Up, Anchorman, Zoolander. I mean, all those, you can always
Yeah.
get a classic good laugh out of
yeah.
them.
Those are
Yeah,
like the
those-
ones we all grew up on, right? I mean, well, not grew up on, but like those are totally our era of
Yes.
comedies that were just spectacular. Like the Step Brothers.
Oh, you know what? I got it. Caddyshack.
Oh,
well
yes.
done.
Classic.
Very-
I remember when I discovered that movie. It was like Christmas, sometime when we moved to Boise, and I watched it like 5 times in a
Oh,
day.
dude.
I was like, this is so funny.
It's gold. That damn gopher.
Yeah.
That damn gopher.
Bill Murray was fabulous.
Oh,
I mean,
dude,
everybody in that movie was just...
That is a
Yep.
classic of classics.
It's-
Yeah.
yes.
I think I watched that the first time when I was staying in somebody's cabin in Sun Valley, like when I was a kid.
It's a great place
Like,
to see that movie.
oh, dude, it was perfect.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is phenomenal. This is such a anyway. It's great choice. Great choice. Top gym song and or band currently. What do you listen to?
Oh my god. Okay, well this was the song that was stuck in my head for the Iron Man. I listen to everything. I will listen to country, I will listen to classical music, I will listen to I won't listen to jazz, let's be honest.
Understandable.
Fair.
Rock and roll. So I had, it's called Boom by, is it Testito? I don't even know how to say his name.
okay.
It's like, but that was stuck in my head for my entire race. So that's been stuck in my head, and It's a Beautiful Morning. I don't even know who it's by. Do you guys know that song? It's a beautiful morning.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
definitely know the song.
Yeah,
I know
It
that.
just makes me feel so good
Yeah.
in the morning. I'm like, it is beautiful today.
Yeah.
And it's just been helping me
There you go.
get through. So yeah, I run the gamut. Whatever
Good.
I'm in the
The
mood.
Wipeouts, is it that one? It's a Beautiful Morning by the Wipeouts.
Babe, is that it?
I don't know.
Can we play
Can we
Let's
play
see.
it? Yeah, that's it. Fast forward a little bit. Just ignore the wind chimes.
I'm digging the album cover. Summer Party Music.
There you go.
I don't know if this is the original,
I don't know if it would be.
but yeah,
Anyway.
it just makes me feel good. It's one of
Good
those
vibes.
classic vibe list.
I like it. So, oh yeah, this is a good question. Who would play your character in a biography?
I don't know. That's really hard.
Hunter, what do you got? Hunter's usually pretty good at coming up with these. Who's like a little ball of fire? Oh man.
This the first person that comes to mind is how do you say her name?
I'm so interested in this.
Oh, Mia Kunis,
Yeah.
whatever.
Mila
Mila
Kunis.
Kunis.
Yeah. That's who comes to mind
Okay.
when I think of that. There was one other gal. What is her name? I actually
Such
think
a-
about this all the time.
This is a
You're
fun
like,
Like
who
if I
would
meet somebody,
play?
I'm like, who would I cast for that person?
Who would I cast?
Rachel Bilson.
Who's that?
I have
Let
no
me
idea
show
who
you.
that is.
Show you a picture.
Oh, the girl from the
She's
OC,
Mhm.
right? Was she
Okay.
one of those?
Okay.
The Heart of Dixie is what she's been in for a while. That's kind of the bigger show. But
Okay. Okay. That's
Yep,
cool.
the OC. Mm-hmm.
I'll
She's
take
been in
it.
Jumper.
I'll take it.
Oh,
How I Met Your
Jumper.
Mother. She played a role in that one.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
Random. That's a good-
I've always wanted to look like Jessica Alba.
Oh, dude.
Oh, that's it.
That is the one.
Yes.
Good
No.
job. Yeah.
I shouldn't have even tried to answer.
Yeah, you guys totally. Yeah, you guys totally look alike. I can see.
I
that.
think it
That's
just
awesome.
depends upon my look now that I'm made up, but
No, that's actually that's
Yeah,
it.
Jessica Alba. We just found it. That's perfect.
Sorry
See,
about
you
that.
knew all along.
Oh,
You
girl
knew all
crush.
along. Yeah, seriously. Okay, well, I think we kind of ran the gambit. Is there anything else you want to touch on?
I think we've had a wonderful conversation. I really look forward to hearing all the other guests and kind of going deeper because you don't learn unless you listen.
Yeah, no, that's good advice right there. No, I'm super grateful to have you on. I really can't thank you enough. I think that there's going to be a lot of people who benefit from just hearing a lot of the things that you have to say, especially in terms of how you approach the day, the mindset, the racing. I mean, I'm just so impressed, man. Like going from just starting triathlons to now you're here. I mean, how crazy is that? It's just
Like I
That's
said,
awesome.
you can just, I think when I started asking why not me was like a really big turning point. Like, why can't I be a business owner? Why
Right.
can't I be an elite athlete? Like, what is the difference between that person and me?
Yeah.
Not much. It's their willingness to go after it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And, that's what I love about watching the culture that you built here at the Mecca Gym is you're turning people's lives around, and I can see it. I mean, it's everywhere.
Well, thank you.
It's like
We try our best.
it's seeping in. I see it, and I'm super excited to continue to grow with it, and I know you guys are going to do great, so thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. All right. That's a wrap.
Thank you for joining us on the Power of Lifting podcast. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. For more content like this, follow Eric Cafferty and the Mecca Gym on all social media platforms.